Let's talk more about this. Joining us right now is Democratic Congressman Ritchie Torres of New York. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. Let's talk about what Peter Navarro is saying now. I mean, he has the president's ear. He has helped craft this trade policy. He is the president's top trade advisor. He says he guarantees there will be no recession related to this. He also goes on to say there is not going to be any inflation. What's your reaction to that?
Well, no one should take a word that Peter Navarro says seriously. He's a voodoo economist. And, Mr. Navarro has said that the golden age of American wealth was the period from 1870 to 1913, when the United States had no indoor plumbing, no electricity, no refrigeration. So the notion that we should turn the clock back to 19th century trade policy is an absurdity. And the Trump administration's policy is causing the United States to experience the worst of both worlds, both the beginnings of a recession and inflation. The tariff policy is the largest tax increase on the American people in more than half a century. It's the largest tariff in more than a century, and it's wreaking havoc on the United States economy.
One of the big focuses today is how China is hitting back and what the president is threatening China with. You are on the House committee focused on American economic competition with China. You want the United States to have more of a trade advantage there, of course. Trump's not only promising 34% tariff on all China goods, but also another 50% if China doesn't back down on its retaliatory tariffs. Add it all together, do you think a tariff on Chinese goods of more than 100% will win the U.S. advantage?
It will have the effect of raising prices on the American people and eroding the competitiveness of the United States. Now, there are legitimate concerns about China, right? There has been cheating on the part of China. China has engaged in intellectual property theft, commercial espionage, but the administration should be pursuing a tariff policy that surgically targets critical sectors in relation to China. Instead, it's imposing tariffs on every imported good, on every foreign country, which will make life less affordable for most Americans.
What would you, I don't know if you've thought about this, but what would you or could you hear from the president that would, if not get you on board with the tariff agenda as he's laid out, make you feel better about it?
Well, the American people need a day of liberation from Donald Trump. Like, he should reverse his policy. The president is on a kamikaze mission to crash the U.S. economy. He's presiding over one of the greatest destructions of wealth that we've seen in our nation's history. Since Inauguration Day, America's lost $11 trillion in wealth. In the 48 hours following so-called Liberation Day, we lost $6.6 trillion in wealth. The Trump tariffs have had the same single-day impact on the S&P 500 as 9/11, but the difference is that the Trump tariffs are completely self-inflicted. So the president should reverse the wound that he has inflicted upon the American people and upon their pocketbooks.
President Trump says, hold on. There will be some pain, but it will get better. And a man who runs a steel company, he actually spoke with CNN yesterday, speaking with Jake Tapper, and he is one of the people who said, given his line of work, given what he has seen in terms of unfair trade practices, he is thrilled with these tariffs. Here's why. Let me play this.
When we ship that to Germany, the German government taxes our clients $128.95 per basket. If a German competitor ships it to America, it's $1.25 per basket. It is so unfair what's happening to the American worker. They can't compete when you have that kind of unlevel playing field.
And that is what President Trump says he is trying to level here. What do you say to that man?
Look, Donald Trump is achieving the opposite. And look, we desperately need a manufacturing revival here in the United States. I mean, that's why congressional Democrats passed the CHIPS Act, which is an attempt to bring back chip manufacturing here in the United States. And it's worth noting that the Trump administration is against it. And so the ultimate effect of his policy is going to be to plunge the United States economy into a recession, into an inflation. We're going to have the worst of both worlds, and the American people are going to have higher prices, fewer choices, lower quality. We're going to pay more for less rather than less for more.
You, really quickly before I have to let you go, you're one of Israel's staunchest supporters, and something that may have gotten overlooked by many in kind of this tariff chaos is something that the president said while in the Oval Office yesterday, speaking with Benjamin Netanyahu right by his side. And he says that we are having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It will go on. It'll go on Saturday. That they are going to be speaking directly to Iran now to try to negotiate a deal. Do you support the president having those direct talks?
Look, we should make every effort to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. The Islamic Republic of Iran has said that it's intent on wiping Israel off the map. And so we cannot afford a world where Iran has a nuclear weapons program that it could weaponize against our closest ally in the Middle East. That would be an unacceptable outcome.
And if that requires direct talks, you would support that?
Yes. I mean, I support every effort, every means of preventing the nuclearization of Iran.
Congressman Ritchie Torres, thank you so much for coming on. It's good to have you on the show. John.
Of course.